conducting internationally significant research means that our academics always have to have their fingers on the pulse. They must be at the forefront of the latest research findings. Not only that, they've got to create the latest research findings and emerging trends. And not only that, they've then got to deliver impact with those findings that they have, spent many years toiling over. And Chris certainly has his pulse at the forefront of geophysics and has had for many years. It's a privilege to have leading global thinkers like Chris at our university. And through this lecture series, we're keen to share our very best research and to engage and inspire you. Most of our recent professors have been offering enlightening explanations of their subject areas. And Chris will be doing that tonight. And I'm sure that we will be enlightened and leave this feeling more privileged that he is either a member of your family, a friend, a colleague, and a member of the staff at our wonderful university. So tonight you are in for a real academic treat as you learn more about the outstanding research, innovation, teaching and professional practices of Professor Chris Gaffney, Professor of Archaeological Sciences. And I am confident that you will be as impressed of Chris and his achievements as I am and his colleagues here at Bradford. Chris embodies the values of the university. We were just talking about them this afternoon. Trust. He is certainly one of the academics we can trust. Trust to engage constantly, trust to do outstanding research, and trust with a secret, which I recently did. I trusted him with the secret that we'd been awarded the Queen's Anniversary Prize. He didn't keep it a secret for too long, but just enough. And I'm really delighted and proud that Chris and the team have enabled me as Vice-Chancellor to get to the Palace. Because it's not my work, it's their work, so thank you very much for that. So Chris's research interests are based on an understanding of how geophysical data aids archaeology in the understanding of life and culture of ancient peoples, and recent as well. And whilst I don't understand a lot about the techniques, I've definitely learned a lot more lately as I've tried to engage and better understand the work of our amazing team of archaeologists. And in pursuing these research goals, Chris has undertaken research in challenging environments where he demonstrated the technical excellence and the novel methodological approaches that have led to a seriously enhanced and rich interpretation of the past, distant and present. So Chris has managed surveys across Britain, Europe, Asia, Africa, Stonehenge, hidden landscapes, World Heritage Sites. He's been to Croatia, Fountain Abbey, you name it. And I'm not going to read out a lot of the things he's done, because amazingly, despite the fact that I thought he was very modest, he's got an amazing Wikipedia page, which if you want to read, really gives, seriously, it's good that academics do this because it's part of communicating their impact. And it's important that people can go and search for our academics and go, wow, I can read that and it's accessible. So I think it's a great thing that Chris has helped everybody to understand more of his work. But more recently, he participated in the major projects directed at broader cultural issues, including the Curious Travellers project, which he's very proud of, utilising web scraping technologies. So Chris is, despite the fact that he is from Newcastle, he didn't do any studying up there. He decided to come to Bradford, which is amazing. So he is an alumnus of the university, undertook his undergraduate and postgraduate degrees here, a PhD that was completed in 1990. And having completed his doctoral research, he formed a commercial archaeology geophysical company with John Gator, and that became the largest group working in Britain. And not a lot of people know that here. I think they get surprised, Chris, don't they? I think when they find that out, I think. I don't know whether it's because you haven't sort of shared that a lot, but it's a significant achievement. And in the summer of 2007, Chris was awarded an honorary doctorate for popularising the archaeological geophysics by the Time team and other media opportunities. So, you know, I think that Chris started here in 2007. And, you know, and what a catch for the university to be able to appoint such an outstanding academic and a person that was committed to Bradford. He started off as an academic lecturer and doing research, brought with him all his skills and techniques from his previous work, and also did a fantastic, outstanding job as head of School of Archaeology and Forensic Sciences during a time when I was Deputy Vice-Chancellor or something like that, or Pro Vice-Chancellor, giving them a hard time, saying, archaeology, what's the future? I didn't say it didn't have a future at Bradford, but I was challenging the team in terms of how are we going to be more sustainable, have more impact, and what do we need to do? And I know at that time that it was probably perceived as a bit of a, wow, is the sword of Damocles over us? But it wasn't, and it was, all of those things were done with the best intention to try and make the team stronger. And Chris, during that time, you did an amazing job at thinking and innovating with the team, and, you know, making the team even stronger, and its programs and its research. So you've done an amazing job for the university. I believe that Chris is a deeply passionate person, committed to his discipline, committed to the university, committed to Bradford, committed to your family. And we are just so lucky that you are with us. And I'm not going to say anything else other than invite you to deliver your inaugural lecture, Chris, from topography to topophilia. And it's over to you now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, honoured guests, family, the internet. Thank you very much to everybody who's joining us today. I must admit, I did have a few words planned, and Shirley went on for so darn long, I forgot what I was going to say now. The first thing is that, yes, I've been here quite a long time. I suppose I've worked in archaeological geophysics for, gosh, almost 40 years. Almost 40 years, and things have changed a bit. We're going to have a little look at how things have changed, and I'm going to talk a little bit about remote sensing, in primarily ground-based, but also the additionality of collecting data from other sources, and from topography, the ground surface, to topophilia, which is sense of love of place, and something that's been really sort of quite a thing for me recently. I did hear a different version of that, of what that word might mean, but I can't say, it's too rude. This is actually the very first instrument that I did my own survey on. It was an independent survey. It's a mega earth tester. It used to belong to another university. It now lives in my study because they were going to throw it out, and I grabbed it. And back in the day, this was 1982, we used to write down the data to understand somehow what was buried beneath the ground. It's quite a problem, because some people just wouldn't believe that we were making any sort of scientific statement of any great intent based on the equipment that we were using. We start in Bradford. You can see on the left here, when I first arrived, this is the so-called Bradphys. It was, archaeological sciences was first within the physics department at this university. And see here, it was set up as a so-called twin probe, which we're really proud of. And Arnold Aspinall and his PhD students, early PhD students, worked through that, and it's now the standard for archaeological earth resistance. You can see here we then had, we were very fortunate to have Roger Walker come and do some work. His PhD. Roger's with us today, and I should say that in the next few slides, if anybody has any problems with sideburns, flared trousers, or don't worry, there will be a number at the end of the lecture that you can call for a bit of help. You can see Roger actually made the first real commercial archaeological earth resistance meter and went from strength to strength with his business Geoscan Research based in Clayton. And we used to type the data into this HX20. Vince, Sue and I were once traveling in, was it Croatia, Vince? Croatia. And we had 22 items of luggage. We were traveling on a train. When we got off the train, we had 21 items of luggage. And I just wonder if anybody's in Croatia, if they could drop into the Lost and Found, the nearest train station, they might actually pick up our HX20. It's much missed. Now, I've spent a lot of time not digging up the past. Okay, and that's basically the whole thing that I do is not digging up the past. This was Meg Watters did this a few years ago, and I suppose it's really it's trying to think a little bit about the fact we always need new technology. We always need new technology, and this was an advert in a treasure hunting magazine. Probably about 30 years ago. And you can also see that there's always big claims on what you can do. And I think we're really sort of always driven to try and get the best technology and ultimately try and work at the best techniques in which to utilize looking at the past. Again, somebody sent this to me a number of years ago, and the matter is that there is quite some science behind what we do. There's real physics. The Maxwell equations for that twig have not yet been resolved, okay? But you never know, it might come sometime soon. What is true, though, is that there's been a different worldview of archaeology and archaeological practice. And here's 2014. Woke up to listen to Mary Beard talk about her point of view on Radio 4 is the archaeological thing of the past. And she's a great communicator, probably the best communicator in this generation, in my opinion, on matters of the past. And you can see here, it talks about the first image of Stonehenge. Here it is. You can see the wooden planks keeping the stones upright. This is 1906. So as archaeologists now use radar. They use different magnetic patterns in the soil, and yet to capture yet more precise images from the air. Military connection extends to UAVs and to high-powered computers. This is my world. Thank you. This was great. I really loved this because it was going so well until she got to the end and she said, but I still want to dig everything. Where did we start? We started on a field. This was Lincroft Farm. My first week at university. Steve Dockrell, Rick Jones took us out to do some field walking. Field walking was the place where all the cool kids were in the early 80s, and me and Vince tried to be there. Okay, Vince ran a Madel Farm project with Motingle, and I went and worked there on my placement. I love the placement scheme that Bradford runs. It is the best thing about this university, apart from the staff. The universities, no. It's really, really great. Now we also worked at the Research Lab for Archaeology and the History of Fine Art during that placement, and really we were meant to be broad polymaths. It was expected, and it still is expected of us. You know, we were labelled Stonehenge. Okay, this was engineering was the idea of the students from this university. Came out. I was very fortunate because I came away with 2 publications from that placement. Yeah, one was with Martin Aitken, which those people who know archaeology and archaeological sciences. Martin was a one of the doyens of early archaeological archaeometry. And but we also did a publication, and it was on beta thermoluminescence dissymmetry. I'm so glad I got that out in one go, because that's such a mouthful. We also did a publication on Maddle Farm. This isn't the publication. This is one that came out a couple of years later with Vince and myself from Boeotia to Berkshire, because I did most of my PhD work in Greece, and here we are looking at the Schlumberger array. We had a couple of publications, monographs. Came out as a PhD. There was pragmatic archaeology and archaeology at the interface. Archaeology at the interface, we've always been interdisciplinary in our view in archaeology. It's nothing new. It's what good archaeologists do. It's what good academics do. And this is what good archaeologists do. At the end of the day, I've cut off some of the more problematic parts of that were on that table. Professor Heron, now Director of Science at the British Museum. Professor Gaffney, the elder, and the younger. I can't go any further forward without mentioning Arnold Aspinall, because he was very important to us all, and we can see Arnold was even at 80 years of age still actually contributing to the debate, and he inadvertently became one of the early people to do landscape archaeology for geophysics, because he just simply kept on going. And this is Thwing in North Yorkshire. And it's collected with Jim Pocock, the superintendent technician. When he retired, he got an honorary degree from Sheffield, and here he is with Michael Palin at the same time. The only difference between the two was Arnold had travelled all around Yorkshire. I spent the first part of 19 years with JSB, absolutely fantastic time. John was a great partner, and the partnerships that we had with the staff were really brilliant. There are at least I know there's at least 4 members of staff, previous members of staff, actually online, and that's great. That's fantastic that they're there, and I think there are at least 4 spin-out companies that have come from people who are on these photographs. We had a great time. Every type of archaeology that you could imagine, we covered. But time team is in part one of the major factors within that time, because it was really about engagement and popularizing the subject. And the bizarre thing is, it took 3 days to film, but you had 1 hour to view. The full cast and crew list for the first program is here. I'm glad to see that it's Chris Gaffney himself, geophysics, as Dr. Chris Gaffney. I'm not really sure what that means. But you can see the reason why the programs took so long to film was because we spent so long doing things over and over again. And you can see this is the Athelney, the very first program, Pierre Athelney, and that breakfast took 3 hours to film. I don't know how we got any results, but results we did. There's Athelney, the first program, fantastic results. But the great thing about this was there was no excavation at all. That'll teach Mary Beard, I thought. Yeah. Let's see if that's going to get that going again. Now, things didn't always go to plan. Okay, it wasn't always great. Now this was not staged. Somebody took this photograph without my knowledge, nor John's. I'm not sure what it was about, but the classic problem that we had was here's a Ribchester earth resistance. We've looking for a Roman road. Roman road should be high resistance, and here's these low resistance features, and which should be ditches. We said, God, it's terrible. Said this on the TV. Did some more survey. And of course, the ditches turned out to be a football pitch. There's a Roman road going through there, but it taught me quite a lot. Generally, just to keep your mouth shut in most occasions. But this comes back. This comes back later to me. But we're going to quickly rush through some other major projects. This was done whilst I was at GSB. But it's an important one, the Roman Rockster, because we tried loads of different techniques. We had we started off with the idea of the garden city, hardly anything in the city itself. The magnetometer survey, it shows absolutely huge amounts, and I know we've got some people in here who have very similar experiences at other Roman sites. Now, here's the thing. We've got topography at the site, and we can see this. The blue is blue is low, and if we look at the results in detail. This was 3 million data points. It was huge at the time. We probably collect that in a day now, but we have areas of tanning. We have elite areas. You can see the building lines in here. We have the mess of the poorer quarters of the town. We can analyze the data and look at the background, and we can statistically see the differences. We also can see areas where there's been burning in the town, because the signal changes from negative to positive. So we know which way that the wind is blowing in this case. And here we can see the town overlaid on top of the segmentation of the town with we know the wind direction, we know where the poor people live, we know where the cattle market is, we know where the tanning is, and that the rich people live here. What do we know? We know that this town stinks. Okay, now this is very important, because what we've done is we've used digital data which relates to the variation in the Earth's magnetic field to talk about life in the past and about something other than just digital data. And this is very important, because we're interpreting lifestyle. We're talking about people here. Fountains Abbey is a project that we've surveyed again and again. Okay, and Roger there is just is doing his stuff. Tom is this was an open day at the site. We've got a very important person in this story here, and that's Mark Newman. The other chap's the gardener. You can see here the story on the west side. You can see the building. This is the so-called missing building, a lost guest house, and you can see absolutely super results of the walls and the piers inside. We've got the mini mirror data. So let's run that. This is ground penetrating radar. And what we can see in here is we can see the emergence of the building. We'll keep them coming. There's a building, and then the really amazing thing. Here he is. Here's the walls. Here's there's another building underneath. Another building underneath. That was thanks to using the Marla GPR we used on this occasion, Mike Langton, who's helped us tremendously on this project. So we had this idea that there's different stories to tell at fountains. It was about this time we started getting interested in laser scanning, and this is part of Tom Sparrow's work. And it's because it's a very beautiful place, Fountains Abbey. I'm sure you all know that. And of course, the Visualizing Heritage group took this to the heart and did some really seriously good work here. We realized that the images we were producing were actually very beautiful, very artful. They were actually very expressive of the sites themselves, and also technically very brilliant, if I may say so. And but I didn't actually do them, so that's okay. We were always been very important to model. Modeling is very good, and in our SAFs, cake is very important. And one of our students, placement students, Beck Hart, made this, and it's like this absolutely beautiful. And what she's showing here is the church on the approximately to scale drawing here of the Fountains Abbey, and these gummy bears are burials. Okay, we knew there was burials at the east side of the church. We know that they were there because in 1856 there's this account of basically a ditch that they dug, because drainage ditch, and there's there's burials. Where's it got about three or four deep. Okay, so sent Mike out to have a little look at this. Here we can see the burials will just start appearing. Here we are. There's all these burials. These are all individual burials, and you'll probably have just seen going through there was the ditch. Okay. Let me see if I can move on that one. So we combine this. This is all digital. This is from drone imagery from Helen McCreary, and pulling down into laser scan data, and then the below ground penetrating data sets. So we're really interested in this bridge between the built heritage and the below ground. Really important to us. And we of course we located the drain. Mark Newman wanted to have a quick look at it. So here is the trench. Tom went and laser scanned, really quite technically difficult because of the shuttering. And what do we know about the site? Well, first of all, we dug the wrong drain. Okay, it was not full of 19th century material. It was earlier, but you know, hey, it was a drain. It was a drain. That's okay. The land levels are very complicated. Burials are real, of course, and there's zonation. We think we've got an accurate plan of the abbey, and we know where it is. Now that sounds a bit odd, because if you walk in the field, you can see where it is, but actually on the published maps, it wasn't quite right. But they seem to have nudged it into place. I suspect that Tom's told them where it is. I think that's it. The other thing is that there was within the excavation, we didn't actually go into the burials. We cleaned the drain, but there are individuals there, and the individuals we scanned, and we've recorded them in three-dimensional as models, and but they were given the proper reburial in a language that these people would have understood, and I think that's very important. So east side, we continued down, and you can see here's our burials. Oh, there's some more over here, and we just kept going. There's a couple of buildings. Now that threw us a little bit. We thought about this, and we decided, well, that's all well and good. Wonder what this means. Well, of course, what it means is that this area we've got our graves. And over here, this is the tannery. This is the unpleasant part of the enterprise. The abbey was a business. It wasn't pretty like it is now. It was really a working area, and that's really important. If you want to have another look at that, please look. You need to tune in to Songs of Praise this Sunday, where that video will be talked about by the National Trust archaeologists. Okay, so it's an important aspect of their work there. What's also an important aspect is Bradford. Bradford matters to me, and the archaeology of Lister Park is really an important thing, really important. We can see the way that this is 1900. We've got the park first laid out. We've got, and then 1930, the park really fills in. What isn't on there is the 1904 exhibition. It just isn't on a map. It isn't on a map. Now, here's the fact. 2.5 million people paid to see that exhibition in 6 months. Absolutely extraordinary. And they were temporary buildings made of corrugated iron and wood. That's, again, absolutely, because they're going to take them down, they're going to sell them. Okay, they weren't missing a trick. And it's a beautiful, beautiful set of postcards you can get. You can see here, it's very much talking about the empire. And but you can see here, in this postcard, this is the exhibition. The mill, Manningham Mill, of course, there, and in between, everything is suppressed. This is all about industry. It's about wealth. It's about selling. Now, what we can see here, there is the Cartwright Hall. This is the temporary industrial building. It's 3 times the footprint of the present hall. It is enormous. There are also some other aspects in here, which I'm not going to go. This is a complete hour lecture in itself, of course. But there's all sorts of fun fairs, and also a Somali tribe live in the park for 6 months, and it's an astonishing story, and one which I can't really go into today, but it is very much an important step, because the first recorded Muslim burial was one of the Somalis who died in Bradford. Now here's Lister Park. This is a view of the industrial hall. There isn't anything on this photograph that now exists. Nothing. I don't think even the trees do. But because this is there's the bandstand is new. The one that's there now was put up in 1908. But basically everything, all the roads here, they're all gone, completely gone. This is view going the other way, and you can see there's the baby incubator unit that they had. Brought babies in to the baby incubator, and you paid money to go and see them. Times were different. Times are different. But we see here the thing I'm going to just talk about is that here's the industrial building. Industrial hall, and notice down here there's nothing in this area. Here's the magnetometer data. It's absolutely filled over. This is a modern pipe. It's absolutely filled full of ferrous type responses there. They shouldn't be there. There's no reason why they should be there. Helen McCreary did a drone survey, and this is the outcomes, and this is, you can see in the area here, you can see there's lots of lumps and bumps. Now, we suspected this because this is another photograph of hers. Now, friends out here who are park runners know that park run used to start here, we used to run here, and every time we ran along, I kept on seeing these parch marks emerging. So that's the reason why I said you've got to go and photograph this for me. And you can see there's loads of parching in this area where there's the magnetic type response. It's also really, really low in terms of the earth resistance, and I couldn't really explain what this was about. So we popped a couple of tiny little trenches in. Tiny, you can barely see them. But if you can see them, you can blame Liz, who's there, because she's one of the students who dug them. And Liz and Joe and Ben Jennings just had a quick look whilst we were teaching students some geophysical techniques. So it's all part of the process. And now we found this. First of all, there's a demolition layer. And that's really important to us as archaeologists. Someone has tipped materials into all over that area. Bottle. Perfect. Bang on the right date. Even better, this is an architectural fragment. An architectural fragment made of timber, metal, and plaster. This is demolition straight off the industrial hall. So they didn't quite just simply take it down nice and gently, sell it all off. They got all the best bits, and then they just dumped it in there. So we've actually solved that problem. We solved that problem using teaching time and goodwill with the parks as well. So there's a lot more to come from that. The Lister Park Lido. This is quite an amazing story. This is on the maps. It closed just about the time I arrived. For everybody in Bradford, it is one of those spots they really remember this. This is within the idea of the love of place. This is one of the areas that they remember, and I'm sure there are people here who've swum in this. Yeah. They pulled it down. Now, actually, what you do when you have a huge hole and you pull down a building is you refill that hole, don't you? Really, which archaeologically that's pretty good. That's what it looks like now. There's nothing on that ground that suggests that there is a former Lido there. There's one tiny little bit of concrete, but that's it. More student training. You can see that here's the kiddies pool here showing up, and there's the main pool and various buildings. Chris Harris, who did an excellent PhD, which incorporated some parts of this. She basically looked at many different types of techniques, particularly electromagnetics, and worked out, amongst other things, the principal component analysis of the data sets. And you can see the places where the handrail had been cut off. That's actually still within the data. You know, you can, as somebody who's been on that site, who's swum there, you could imagine going back to that place now. Bradford Park Avenue. And now this is real topophilia. This is love of place because it's footy. Okay, I don't even have to say anything more than that. But the thing about it, you can read the stats on this. And this bit's interesting me. There's sudden and long-lasting topophilia. It's enshrined by legal covenant, which basically says you've got to keep some sort of physical exercise on this site. Okay, and so you can see it here. We've got open field. We've then got this beautiful two areas of activity, and here's an aerial photograph. You've got the old cricket ground, and you've got the Bradford Park Avenue with the Archibald Leach, a really unusual stand which goes like that. You can sit on either side to look at the pictures. Absolutely fantastic. So in its heyday, not in its heyday. This on a good day is what it looks like. We can see the mosque behind, and of course that was the railway station, and it was one of the first out-of-town leisure developments in this area. You can see what happens here. We do a survey again, training with students. You can see the football pitch. You can see the halfway lines, the circle in the centre. So that's getting us back to Ribchester again, okay? Jason Wood did some excavation there, and these are some of the finds that came from the goal area. The plastic cups come inside the post, the goal post. This was literally a final ritual killing of the site. There was no more tea to be drunk. It was put in and covered over. That's an archaeological episode that you can imagine. The coins here are coins, loads of coins. Now that's really troublesome coins around the goal, because you get the idea that someone's been chucking them at the players. Actually, what we found out was they used to do a collection for charity with a big blanket. The kids used to walk around, used to chuck the stone, they chuck the coins at the blanket. Sometimes they missed, and they just hit the net and dropped. Sometimes the past isn't as red in claw and tooth as it first seems, thank goodness. But of course, there was an exhibition at the National Football Museum in Manchester, and of course this is really important to us, because we can work differently when you're working with modern materials. And this is in the record bar, doing a little talk. And of course, the book that came from that was shortlisted for the sports book of the year. Very quickly, digitized disease. I'm going to mention this because this was the first time we got involved with three-dimensional models, and really important. Here's a Schmoll's nodes from there, and you can see 4 million accessions, 4 times the traffic in lockdown. You know, there's a real need for people to get information online increasingly. Curious Travelers, Vice Chancellor mentioned this. This was just basically scraping imagery off the web and creating models as we go along. This starts getting us into a different world. The different world is here's our showcase area, visualizing heritage. If you want to just drop in on that, you can see some of our projects. But here's the one on the Bradford Heritage and Sculpture Trails, and essentially, if you were to let me go see where we are. Go to Bradford Museums. You'll find that there's a walking tour, and if you go on the walking tour, you can just clip into here, and you can walk around town. And let me have a look at things. We'll get in there eventually. We start seeing. Click more to see, and we're back into our area, and you can see there's models that you could look at. There's areas like the Odeon. Fantastic information in here, which is largely written by a placement student of ours. Absolutely brilliant, Tabitha Maud. And you can see, you can have a look, 360 photographs, and you can have a look around the Odeon, for example, and see it whilst it's being restored. So there's much more in here, much more. So it allows us to the workflows that we're using at the moment, which are scanners, whether they're mobile or static, allow us to produce different types of views of the past. And this is a Richard Dunn sports centre, and those of you who've been in it will remember the slides there. It's a really evocative building for the people of Bradford, and really is a place that I certainly really loved. But it also allows us, these things allow us to look at the past in ways that perhaps you never could see them. This is something that Tom put together with a little sort of spiraling around in and out of the graves and the Illingworth mausolea in Undercliff. Really important to try and engage the public with different types of displays. You can see here in the town hall, a view of the town hall that you cannot see except in a digital world. Visualizing heritage in terms of virtual Bradford has become a thing. It's a thing for us. It's an important thing. And essentially, we, with our friends from the council, we're surveying the central part of the town. There's different types of level of detail, and we're right down at the top end here. And essentially, there's mobile laser scanning, photogrammetry, 360 video, GPS, all sort of on one very lightweight pack. And you can see the walk around town. It's required to try and capture this. And you can see the idea of structure from motion. These are all of, in this particular case, you can see the points and the photographs that are being taken, and they get blended together to produce imagery such as this. So this, look, it's really quite difficult because Bradford isn't flat. You might have noticed that. And so trying to put things onto maps can be quite difficult. We've got, but as soon as we start collecting and processing data, we see that the town sort of comes alive in many ways, because so there's topography in there, but there's also the buildings with some character beginning to emerge. Let's have a look at this. This is the topography of the city, and you can see the walk. It's done, and then we can see the wire frames of the buildings. You might be able to see some of them, and then the solid model that comes from this. But we're going beyond that. We're going beyond that, and this is this is where we're heading towards. This is the model that's captured. Basically, you can see the difference between the model that we're producing and the orthodox model of these sorts of twins. The reason why this is important is because this is capturing Bradford at a moment in time. There is opportunities to model how the city will change, and essentially it's a moment in time that will change. Okay, it's not meant to be Bradford as it will always be, because you will be able to take this model apart, add bits in, work out how the air flows through the city, work out what happens to the listed buildings, which is really what we're very interested in, and it will be a fantastic resource for planning as we move forward into the next stage of Bradford's development. Going back very rapidly to some geophysics again. We're going to just think a little bit about a project in Libya, and this was the first time we used GPS-guided magnetometry, which was back in, I think, 2006 or so, and we just have this great outcome here with the road system. We actually found some bombs, which is really interesting because that kit was meant to be used as a bomb detector. So, you know, I suppose it was useful, but we got the bug. we got the bug with virtual grids and large scale. And we, Vince and I and other colleagues have worked in Stonehenge now for a good number of years. Couldn't be done without a team of thousands, to be honest. It really is an important thing. But we start a little bit earlier. Before I came to university, I dug with Julian Richards at Conanbury Henge, and here's the so-called Conanbury anomaly, magnetometer anomaly, and it was full of feasting from the past. Okay, I didn't actually dig the anomaly itself, but it's the way it works. We've done large-scale surveys with our partners, particularly in the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute in Birmingham, and we can see some of the outcomes. New henges in here, massive area surveys. We can see the importance of just individual pits within a landscape, and we can see here within the cursus lining up with sunrise and sunset, and this is embedded information that can only be resolved at large scale. You can't see this sort of thing as if you consider the landscape as a segmented area. You've got to put it together, and there's lots of different new sites, and a lot of them not previously recorded, but some of them are significantly different to what we thought, and we used a lot of different types of techniques to try and figure out how the archaeology is related here. Durrington is an important part for us. You see the interpretation of the magnetometry by Mario and Emo, and what we sought to find though was there was some weirdness in the data sets, and we've got these anomalies here, and we thought that there might be dew ponds. Some people thought there might be sinkholes, but they are rather unusual in their locality, and very similar in their response. You can see them within the other archaeological remains. There's also a causewayed enclosure being noted in development work, and you can see these responses going off to the northeast. So the question was really whether it's just a coincidence that you've got 20 features that appear to be consistent, form a coherent circuit. It might have an inner circuit of post and happen on a major henge, which is Durrington walls. We did some additional work. We did boreholes. We did lots of different types of additional surveys. So, for example, here we've got the ground penetrating radar, seeing the cube going down into the ground, and nice straight sides apparently. We have electrical resistivity tomography, which across the landscape. This is one that Richard Bates produced, and you can see here's the individual pits, and you can see that they appear very straight. They're all about the same size. They're very regular. They were we used a drilling rig to try and get down and have a proper look at them. And of course, what we found was that they were full of archaeological materials, and this is really completely new to us. You can see here the view of the archaeology in context with the other great monuments in the area, and you can see how this fits together. It's not a perfect circle. It doesn't need to be. It's not meant to be. They're paced out. So now I realise that everybody back at home on the internet have all been sat there with their snacks. Okay, whereas you guys, it's been a bit like a timeshare, hasn't it? Because you've got to do the deal with the talk before you're allowed out. I'm going to finish with just a thought about Stonehenge, and this is all the metal work. This is all ferrous responses that's within the area that we've surveyed. It's enormous. Now, actually, one of them is Stonehenge. Remember, Stonehenge Aerodrome. That's where the first photograph was taken from. That's no longer there. But all this noise is a result of that. But all this is actually the largest site in Stonehenge. It's the distribution of material from the Free Festival, and basically it's across the landscape. People have used that space, and we come back to feasting. We come back to sense of love of place, because actually people are still going to Stonehenge because they feel an affinity to that space, just as people did in the past at Conbury Henge, where we've got the feasting in the anomaly there. We've also got a very obvious example of this love of space, which can be shown from digital data, from geophysics, and really can only be expressed in this way. So we've really come to the end, and thank you all for staying awake. It is so good, and I'm so glad I've got through all of these slides, because otherwise you're going to have to come back tomorrow. Thank you.